Obama is on his way to Mexico to confront a growing security threat. The new administration wants to boost cooperation, but the president is likely to find Mexico's president has his own agenda. Let's talk about it with Pete Seat, a White House spokesman during the Bush administration who visited Mexico along with the president. Former president, I should say. Fox News contributor Bob Beckel is a former Mondale campaign manager. All right, Bob, what political battles are these two likely to have?
Well, the battles are going to shape up to this. First of all, the Mexicans have made it clear that the problem lies in the United States, which is somewhat unfair since well, it's not unfair. I mean, there's some legitimate concerns here, but the police are so corrupted on the Mexican side of the border that nothing's being done to stop these flow of drugs coming in the United States. So the Mexican military has moved in, and since they have, there's been a slight decrease in that. So I think what Obama needs to convince Calderon of is to increase military troops on the border. And on the other side of it is that 90% of the weapons that are coming into Mexico, these assault weapons, are coming in from the United States that are causing most of these murders on both sides of the border. And most of those have come in since we did away with our assault weapons ban, which I think maybe teaches us a lesson to have assault weapons bans put back in place.
Well, Pete, some say that the problems with Mexico and in Mexico and along the border are just symptomatic of our failure to police our own border.
Absolutely, John. And if I could point out on a personal note real quick, I remember when I was in college, Republicans, myself and friends, we always dreamt of going head-to-head with Bob Beckel. We would throw popcorn at the TV.
And here you are.
With him, so
it's the realization of a lifelong dream.
Absolutely. So thanks for having me. But absolutely, you're absolutely right, John. It stems from the problem we have with not securing our border, something we attempted to do so many times during the Bush administration. Congress dragged its feet like usual. I think it's interesting that Mexico is pointing the finger at us instead of themselves. You know, it's like us pointing the finger at Italy for the obesity problem in America. It just doesn't work. And we need to help Mexico. The Merida Initiative, which President Bush signed in June of 2008, is a good step forward. We just need to disperse those funds and help Mexico and secure our border. And I think the right steps are happening, but Congress and the administration need to move faster.
Bob, you were talking about assault weapons and so forth that are coming in from the United States. William Lajeunesse did a fascinating report for us a week or two ago about the fact that a lot of these weapons are actually coming in from Central America, South America, even Asia. They're not necessarily all coming from, gun shops in Houston.
No, well, but what they're doing is a lot of being sent from the United States gun shops into some Central American countries and then sent into Mexico. By the way, Pete, thank you very much, and I'm glad you were throwing popcorn. Most people throw shoes and other lethal things at me, so I appreciate that. That was kind. But look, here's the reality. We've been in a drug war here in this country for 40 years. It has been a total failure. 75% of the drugs that come across the border are marijuana. We better get serious, at least consider the possibility of decriminalizing marijuana and take the profit away from these drug cartels. You're not going to be able to beat these guys head to head. They have more of a profit than the Mexican government has in revenue. Now, what are you going to do about that? They've bought everybody off. Now, eventually they're going to get to the military down there and do it. And yes, we have to do more on our side of the border, but we're doing an awful lot. And yet, the situation only gets worse. What does that tell you? There is a demand, and where there's a demand, you're going to have a supply.
Quick response, Pete. I guess I wonder what Bob's smoking if he's talking about legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana.
I inhaled. I'll admit it. I inhaled, but it's not the
Pete,
reason.
real quickly.
I don't want to point fingers at Bob on this, but you guys are right. I mean, this problem is nothing new. It's been decades old. You can just look a little further south to Colombia to see how they've had difficulties, and they've had good successes, but they still have problems. Just yesterday, they captured their #1 drug lord in Colombia. So this is not a quick fix. It's not going to happen overnight. But if we make the right steps, if Congress puts more border security in place, I think we'll be set.
We'll keep an eye on President Obama's trip, see what comes out of all this. Thank you, gentlemen.